In a home you've loved for 40 years, every object tells a story. The heavy oak coffee table hosted countless family game nights. The armchair by the window is where you rocked your children to sleep. These are not just things. They are markers of a life well lived, silent witnesses to your history. But lately, you've noticed a change. The pathways through your rooms seem narrower. Standing up from that low, comfortable sofa requires a little more effort, a second push. A quiet, unacknowledged caution has crept into your movements. It's a subtle friction in the flow of your day, a silent conversation you have with your own home, which has slowly transitioned from a sanctuary of memories into a quiet, familiar obstacle course. The love for your home hasn't faded, but the ease of living within it has begun to erode, piece by piece, day by day, forcing you to ask a question you've been avoiding. Is your home still working for you, or have you started working for your home? This feeling is often sharpened by a visit from your adult children. You see their quick, subtle glances at the stack of magazines by the recliner, the narrow gap between the ottoman and the television stand. They say nothing, but their concern hangs in the air, a mirror to the fear you quietly hold in your own heart. The fear of a fall, the fear of becoming a burden. Admitting that the furniture layout has become a hazard feels like admitting defeat, like acknowledging a frailty you are not ready to accept. It's easier to postpone, to say, "It's not that bad yet." But the truth is, this isn't about surrendering to age. It is about confronting a direct and growing threat to your independence. The real risk isn't the clutter. It's the potential for one misstep, one trip over a beloved but misplaced piece of furniture, to cascade into a life-altering event that takes your freedom away permanently. This isn't about tidying up. It's about safeguarding your future. The decision to change your home feels like a betrayal. It's not about the wood, the fabric, or the frame. It's about the silent promise you made to the past. Getting rid of the heavy sideboard feels like erasing the memory of every holiday dinner it served. Replacing the worn-out love seat feels like dismissing the countless hours of conversation and comfort it provided. This is the hidden paralysis of a home filled with history. Every object is an anchor to a moment, a person, a feeling. The process of letting go becomes a courtroom drama in your mind, where you are both the judge and the accused. The charge, ingratitude. The thought of a thrift store, a new owner, or worse, a landfill, feels like a violation of that object's service to your life. So you postpone. The decision is too heavy, the emotional cost too high. You tell yourself it's just stuff, but your heart knows it's more than that. It's the physical library of your life, and you are not yet ready to edit the collection. This internal debate is complicated by a deeper, more private fear, the fear of appearing weak. When your children visit, you find yourself performing a role. You move with a practiced confidence, deliberately navigating the narrow passages you've created. You stand up from the low sofa without wincing, hoping they don't see the effort. You host them in a space that no longer fully serves you, all to maintain the illusion that nothing has changed, that you are just as capable as you were 10 or 20 years ago. Admitting a piece of furniture is now a risk feels like conceding a fundamental loss of capability. It feels like handing them the script for a future where you need their help, a future you are determined to avoid. The house, therefore, becomes a fortress for your pride, its cluttered walls defending you against the perceived judgment of frailty, even as it quietly erodes the very independence you are so desperate to protect. Ultimately, the clutter is a crisis of identity. For decades, your home and its contents have helped define you. The gracious host, the dedicated parent, the keeper of the family's legacy. These roles are etched into the very grain of your furniture. The large dining table represents a time when the house was full of noise and life. The collections on the shelves represent a person with passions and history. To let them go raises a terrifying question. Who are you without them? You fear that an emptier home will reflect an emptier life, a signal that your most vital chapters are behind you. But here lies the profound conflict. The identity you are clinging to, the keeper of the past, is the very thing preventing the you of the future from having space to thrive. It is the weight of yesterday's definition of yourself that is making today feel so heavy, so constrained, and so full of quiet risk. The home has become a museum to who you were, at the expense of who you can still become. The turning point is never a loud explosion. It's a quiet, cold click. It happens on a Tuesday morning, reaching for a book on a low shelf, when your knee brushes against the sharp corner of the coffee table. It's not a fall, not even a stumble, but the jolt of adrenaline is instant and clarifying. In that split second, you see the alternate future, the fall, the crack, the phone just out of reach. You see the concerned faces of your children, the sterile white of a hospital room, the conversation about next steps. The sentimental value of the table evaporates, replaced by a stark and brutal calculation of risk. The question that has been a whisper becomes a shout in the silence of your mind. If not now, when? When the fall has already happened? When the choice is no longer yours to make? Suddenly, the paralysis breaks. The fear of appearing frail is dwarfed by the terrifyingly real vision of becoming so. The internal courtroom drama is over. The verdict is in, and it's not about betraying the past. It's about saving the future. The decision once made brings a strange sense of calm. This is not going to be an emotional rampage through 40 years of memories. It will not be a weekend of weeping over photo albums and dusty trinkets. Instead, it will be a deliberate, strategic assessment. A new thought takes hold, clear and powerful. You must audit your home for independence, the same way an accountant audits a business for financial health. It's a shift from seeing your home as a museum of what was to seeing it as the headquarters for the life you intend to live. The goal is no longer the vague and overwhelming mandate to declutter, but a precise surgical mission to identify and neutralize every single obstacle that stands between you and a future of self-reliance. This is not about erasing your history. It is about ensuring your history doesn't prematurely write your ending. This brings us to the fourth and perhaps most difficult item: the cabinet of yesterday's triumphs. It might be a heavy hutch filled with china you never use, or glass shelves displaying a lifetime of collected treasures. This piece is more than furniture. It is a monument to your identity. It's the physical evidence of a life well lived, of family dinners, of world travels, of passions pursued. The thought of dismantling it feels like a final, tacit admission that those chapters are closed. The resistance you feel is not about the objects themselves. It is the profound fear that an empty space will signify an empty future. It honors the past by standing still, and in doing so, it can become an anchor that prevents you from moving forward into the living, breathing space of your own future. Here we must apply the future self-test with surgical precision. The question is not, can I bear to part with these memories? It is, does this monument serve the person I intend to be tomorrow? A person who is mobile, unburdened, and free. This is not an act of erasure. It is an act of curation. You are the curator of your own story, and your job now is to select the most powerful artifacts and release the rest. You honor your memories not by encasing them in wood and glass, but by carrying their essence forward into a life that has room to be lived. Letting go of the cabinet is a declaration that your story is not over. It is the ultimate act of choosing to be the author of your next chapter, not merely the guardian of the previous ones. The victory is not the empty wall you create, but the light that floods the room, the new pathways you can walk, and the quiet, powerful affirmation that you value your future more than your furniture. The fifth item on your audit is not a single piece, but a category: the redundant guest room furniture. The sturdy bed frame, the heavy dresser, the nightstand, they stand ready for visitors who now come less frequently, or who would be just as comfortable on a modern, high-quality air mattress that can be stored away. This room, for much of the year, is a storage unit for a life you are no longer living. It is a space dedicated to a theoretical future guest at the direct expense of your present-day needs. It could be your home gym, your art studio, your library. It could be a bright, open space for you to simply exist in. Letting go of this furniture is one of the most powerful moves in the independence audit, because it is a direct statement that you are the primary resident of your own life. It is the act of reclaiming an entire section of your home and dedicating it to your own vitality, your own passions, and your own peace right now. The victory is not an empty room. It's a room filled with your own potential. This leads us to the final category of your audit, the sixth item: the collections and accumulated layers. This isn't about a single piece of furniture, but the ecosystem of objects that has grown on and around them. The stacks of magazines, the piles of unread books, the decorative items on every flat surface. Each one is a tiny decision postponed, a small anchor of visual and mental clutter. They create a background noise that constantly drains your focus. More critically, they make your home harder to clean, harder to maintain, and they hide the surfaces of the furniture you've already audited, making it difficult to assess them clearly. Dealing with these layers is the final step in quieting your environment. The rule here is the one-touch rule. If you pick it up, decide its fate then and there. Keep, donate, or discard. This process is not about minimalism. It's about clarity. The victory is a home where your mind is not constantly processing 1,000 small objects. A space that is easy to clean, and a profound sense of visual peace that allows your energy to be directed where it matters most, toward your own life. With the audit complete, your home settles into a new kind of silence. It is not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of clarity. The constant, low-grade visual noise of a lifetime's accumulation has been turned down, and in its place is a profound sense of peace. You can feel it in the way you walk across the living room, no longer with the subconscious, cautious shuffle of a navigator, but with a full, confident stride. Your eyes look forward, not down. The energy once spent on the simple, exhausting act of moving through your own home is now yours to keep. This reclaimed energy is the first, most immediate dividend of your investment in yourself. It is the feeling of a mind unburdened, a body at ease, and the quiet, powerful hum of a space that is finally, fully, and completely on your side. Your home is no longer a conversation partner in a debate about risk. It is a silent, supportive ally in the life you are now choosing to live. The house itself seems to have taken a deep breath. It is no longer a museum to who you were, but a functional headquarters for the person you are right now. The objects that remain are not just the survivors of the audit. They are the honored guests. Each one has been intentionally chosen, its story and purpose reaffirmed. This act of curation transforms your relationship with your possessions. They are no longer a weight, but a source of focused joy. The home is now a launch pad, not an anchor. It is a space designed for action, for ease, and for flow. The sunlight seems to find new corners, the air feels lighter, and the pathways through your rooms are not just clear, they are invitations. They invite you to move, to create, to rest without struggle, and to begin the day not with a series of small physical negotiations, but with a simple, unimpeded sense of possibility. This is what it feels like to live inside your own decision. Then comes the day your children visit. They step inside, and you see the change happen in an instant. It's not in what they say, but in what they don't do. Their eyes don't scan the floor for hazards. Their shoulders relax. The subtle tension that always accompanied their visits, the unspoken worry they carried for you, has evaporated. The conversation is lighter. The laughter is easier, because the environment is no longer a source of concern. In that moment, you have done more than rearrange furniture. You have reset the entire dynamic of your family. You have silently and powerfully communicated that you are not a person who needs to be managed, but a person who is in control. You have taken the future conversation about your living situation off the table by building a new one yourself, one that is safe, intentional, and undeniably independent. Their relief is your quiet, unassailable victory. This external validation is matched by a seismic internal shift. The persistent low-grade fear that had become your shadow, the fear of a fall, the fear of dependency, the fear of becoming a burden, begins to recede. You realize how much mental energy was being consumed by that constant, quiet anxiety. 1. This newfound space, both physical and mental, begins to ask a wonderful new question. What will you do with it? The guest room, once a static shrine to infrequent visitors, is now your morning yoga studio, the floor clear and open. The corner where the heavy cabinet stood now holds a comfortable chair, a good lamp, and a stack of books you finally have the mental clarity to read. You find yourself putting on music and dancing in the kitchen, simply because you can move without obstruction. This is the ripple effect of your decision. It creates the conditions for joy to re-emerge in small, unexpected ways. Your home is no longer a passive container for your life, but an active participant in your well-being. It is a canvas that invites you to paint, a stage that invites you to move, and a sanctuary that provides not just shelter, but a genuine foundation for vitality. This is the beginning of your new chapter, written in space and light. You now have the answer to the question that once paralyzed you. Who am I without all my things? You are not less. You are the curator. You are the architect of your own future. You are the person who had the wisdom to see the difference between a memory and a monument, and the courage to choose life over legacy. Your new identity is not one of surrender to age, but of strategic mastery over it. It is the identity of a person who respects their past, but is not imprisoned by it. This decisive act of curating your home is perhaps the most powerful expression of self-respect you can make at this stage of life. It's a declaration that your story is not over, and that you are not merely a character in its final chapters, but its active and uncompromising author, choosing every detail with intention and with foresight. You are a person who values your freedom more than your furniture. And so, this journey ends where it began, in your home. But it is no longer the same place. It is a space that has been transformed by a single, powerful force, your choice. This process was never truly about decluttering. It was about creating the most valuable asset you can now own, open space. Not an empty void, but a rich, potential-filled expanse that represents your future. It is a physical manifestation of your decision to live the rest of your life with intention, with dignity, and on your own terms. This is your legacy. Not the things you will one day leave behind, but the powerful example of how you chose to live, forward-looking, unburdened, and free. Your next chapter has already begun. It began in the moment you decided to clear a path, not just through your home, but for the rest of your life.